What's up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, the community finance coach, aka Mr. Remedy, and you are watching another show on our Money Monday. I'm really excited to have my boy Devin here on the line. Devin, what's up? Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well, Anthony. I appreciate you for having me. Thank you. To everybody, my name is Devin Panett, and I am the general manager of Amplified Moving.
Yeah, awesome. Amplified moving. This is a definitely an interesting topic because I, for one, have moved so many times in my life, Devin. I don't know about you, but I feel like by now I should have probably started a moving company a long time ago with just my buddies. Like every year, all of us would move around the same time. So it's like five of us just moving. It was like, and it's never, there's always something that breaks. So it could be a window, my buddy almost falling down the stairs and put his hand through a glass. Thank God he didn't get cut. Or my hairdresser just getting banged up, and where now I have like a dent on it. These are things that have happened to me. So for those that are watching, on this Lunch and Learn, we always like to either show how we can make money or save money. And with Amplified Moving today, I'm hoping that we can learn a little bit about both. So Devin, tell me a little bit more about you and how you got involved in the moving business.
Well, all right. Well, I previously was a manager in a car dealership. I used to sell cars, and anybody who knows car dealing, that is a very, very tedious job, and it's a very, very neutral and stationary job where I'm in the office all the time. And that, for me, I'm a very outgoing, very energetic person, and it became a little bit too much. Very day to day, repeat, and for me, it wasn't a lot. So I had met someone who sold properties and was a real estate investment investor, and basically, he reached out to me and was like, I really love how you talk. And he goes, I love how you engage with people. And it was right around the COVID time. So it was actually kind of when the car business was dying down and people were going into the kind of, what was it? The lockout. People had to stay in the houses. So basically,
The
he had
pandemic.
reached out to me and he said, hey, would you like to get into what's called short sales? Locate property, help people turn over their property very, very fast, offer them a little bit to get out of the property and move them out of there. And I was like, okay, cool. And at that time I had a friend who was renting trucks. And I was like, okay, I like this kind of situation. I'm helping people get out of their properties, get out of their little debt or whatever. And I have someone I can call to help assist them with the actual process of moving out, the manual job. And then I'd reached out to him. I was like, hey, how was that business for you? Did you actually make some money? He was like, man, I got paid. He was like, I got like $600 for the day. And I was like, bro, you worked like 4 hours. It was like a 2-3 hour move, And he goes, yeah, wow. That's the business. And I was like, well, how do I get into that? And me and him, we kind of put our heads together and started thinking. Everybody's moving out of New York. COVID's going here. Nobody wants to be in the city. Everybody's trying to go to less populated areas. So we got into the niche of renting trucks and taking people from New York and driving them all the way down to Florida or South Carolina or Missouri, Kentucky, Kansas, places like that. And we started reaching out to other companies or brokers in those areas. And how can we pick somebody else up over here and see where we can take them from there? So I became a long distance mover. So I was doing about like 8 weeks on the road, maybe 9 weeks on the road, coming home for a week or two, and then going right back out. And
did you really enjoy going from like that inside that constant pattern of not being out and about versus now you're in different states? So how did that make you feel?
I loved it. To be honest with you, it was like when I sold cars, I still talk to people every day. I still got to do what I like to do, which is meet and engage with new people, learn different professions and learn different backgrounds and just different ways of thinking where people come from and stuff like that. And when I became a mover, obviously the labor part of it became a little bit more tedious, a little bit harder. It's obviously physical labor, but I'm a young guy. I work out. It's not that hard to do when you stay on top of it. And the difference is now I'm going into people's homes. I'm seeing lifestyles. I'm seeing decor. I'm seeing ethnicity through I guess you would say through furniture, through feng shui. Like I'm walking and I'm seeing exactly how different cultures live and how they decorate.
Yeah.
Custom stuff from Egypt. I've moved stuff from people's houses that they purchased in Nigeria. And it's like, wow, this stuff is really beautiful. And it gives you a little bit more of a conversation more into people's lifestyles, what they do for a living, where they come from, what kind of day-to-day they have. Because I'm in their homes. I'm seeing their lives. I'm seeing exactly what these people are. And it's kind of riveting. Going, especially long distance, going to another state is like going to another country. Everything is different. Accent, terrain, way of living, even traffic laws. They're different from state to
Right.
state, you know? So
So go back. So now you started going state to state, and then what happened?
we were doing really well. It was 8 weeks on. Like I said, I would do like maybe 3 pickups in a day. Maybe I'll pick you up in Missouri, drive your load all the way over into Illinois, and then from Illinois do a pickup, go all the way down up into go all the way up into Michigan, do a pickup over there, and it was just travel, travel, travel. And we obviously, depending on the place that we were, if it was like a little bit more exciting, like when we went to Vegas, I had to stop. I had to try and hit the casino and stuff. When I was in Missouri, I went to the Ozarks and we hiked a little. It was amazing. So it's there's a lot of places I've been, and there's a lot of like even crazy jobs. I've done some very crazy jobs. Like I've moved 1,000-pound safe, and that's the only thing I picked up. And it's like you go through some weird jobs, and it's also
Real
very.
quick, for those that are watching, I want to know, what is the craziest job you've ever had? Craziest job. That was a cool. For me, I don't know if it was crazy, but I was doing door to door for a few years, and I was going like into every hood offering reach out wireless, which was SafeLink. It was like a management training office. It was like 2011, and that was like dude. I was like the best and worst time just working on all elements outside. But like you said, you're meeting different people, you're having fun. Every day is a new day, and I embrace that.
Yeah, no, it's truly different from your average day-to-day job. I'm never in the same place. I'm never around the same people. I'm always in a different environment, taking on a different task, and it's always something new to conquer for the day. Whether it's a difficult bed that we can't get out of a room, or maybe it's a sofa that just doesn't fit over a stairwell. We got to put it through the balcony, and I got to innovate how I'm going to raise it and get it lifted over a balcony. It's all different types of things that we do that I enjoy, because it's constantly a
Mhm.
challenge. It constantly challenges my intellect, but not only that, my physical abilities. And I think that
Yeah.
that's something that's pretty interesting to be able to do every day.
So talk to me about, obviously from the perspective of a mover, right? What if you're looking to move, and let's say you're about to buy a house and you're going to sell, or you're selling your house and you're about to move. What are some of the things that you recommend, um, with that level of detail that you pay attention to?
Um, I recommend purging, getting rid of a lot of stuff that you don't
Oh
necessarily
wow,
need.
purging. Okay.
A lot of clients that I've known, especially with larger homes or people that have lived in a home for a longer period of time, I've noticed that they always tend to have things that they're not sure if they should get rid of, or it's been too long, they've had it, and it kind of has a sentimental value to them. And I always say, is it necessary? Is it something you're going to use again? Or is it something that you just found in the back of your closet that just has that nostalgia to it? Where it's like,
Mhm.
that can cut your cost. The less things you have, the decluttering and the knocking down your inventory and desizing to make sure that what you're taking is exactly what you need is also how you save some money. Think about it. The more stuff that we have to move, the longer a job can take. It's the more price points that you'll pay. So I always suggest, decluttering, getting rid of anything that you don't need. Even if you have to donate, donating is always good. It even helps the people around you in your areas that are suffering. So those are always good key points, I think, that are major, I think, as far as getting everything done. And I think a second one is actually taking the time to pack your stuff. I
Wow.
know that there are a lot of people that they don't have that time and or even energy, even if they're older, or maybe they're a little bit disabled, or there's some, they have a lot of kids. There's a lot of reasons why people have trouble packing. But I think that if people pack a little bit of their own personal goods, it keeps a little bit more organization for themselves,
Mm.
as well as knocking off some costs. It does take time, and it is energy, and it does cost labor hours to have people come into your home and pack all your stuff and sit with you and try to figure out what room is going into what room, or what item is going to be going into another room, or what item should be packed with what. Because sometimes, you go into someone's home, and in their living room on their top shelf, they may have a couple sets of chinaware that's going to be going into their new kitchen. But if we're packing
Mm.
it and it's in the living room, we're marking it as the room that we're taking it out of. So now there has to become that set of communication where it's like it's got to be consistent. And sometimes when people are doing a full pack, there's a couple guys in each room, getting everything situated for you to get onto a truck. So it becomes a little tedious and stressful for the client now, because where's my stuff? what room did you pack this in? What, so these are just little things that I think that if people just took a little bit more attention to, they can save themselves some money and a lot more stress.
Yeah, I don't think people would think this, right? It's like, just to kind of have, you would say like an agenda spreadsheet, just to kind of tell you what's what, where things are going during the move, right?
Yep.
If now, do you think that people don't hire movers more so because of cost or because they don't just know anybody or both?
Um, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's cost efficient is the fact that there's a lot of movers that you may call that have high pricing, or their pricing isn't always complete when it's up front in their quote. And when they get there, there's a whole bunch of different parameters that people looked over in their quote that become additions that end up jumping your price up very, very high. And then there's also the idea of most people don't think of moving as a profession. A lot of people still call on family friends and get help. A lot of people don't realize that moving is something that's as local as a family owned company such as ourselves. They all think of major companies and corporate companies and the 1-800 movers or piece of cake moving, these larger companies they see around, and they see those companies and they automatically think high pricing. They're everywhere. They're franchised. They're a high price company. They don't think to go on and find someone that's local to them, because most people don't even think about having a local mover or having
Right.
someone in your area that can get to you quick, because they're local to you, are cheaper in travel costs and in their hourly rates. And I think that that's a difficult kind of field to break into, because it's not really a social media kind of business. It's not like something you can kind of make interesting on a page. We're picking up stuff and moving. So it is difficult to kind of get the word of mouth out. But I think if you, as a company, taking care of our clients and building that, I guess, friendship, reaching out on holidays like Christmas or Thanksgiving and just keeping them in mind and keeping us in their mind, it has been able to give us a little bit more of a connection with our community.
Of course. So it sounds like you really care about the move, which is great. Now, talk to me a little bit about, we talked about like the preparation, and you gave a great remedy to, do a purge and to be a little bit more organized. Um, how do you price, right? So, I'm curious. I never hired a mover before myself, right? I think that with my friends, we were all capable, and we kind of enjoyed getting together, having a couple of drinks, getting some food, and spending a few hours of the day. We made a thing out of it, right? I think,
Yes.
right? Um, how do you price now that I'm getting up in age? My buddies will all have bad knees now. We're not as limber. How can you help us, from hurting ourselves?
Um, So basically, what I always love to suggest is actually having someone like myself or someone in my company come to the physical home for a free consultation. We'll walk through the entire house. We'll see exactly what's going. If you have questions on whether or not something is worth taking, or if it's potentially something that can get broken because of its age, or it's I guess a wear and tear on it. It's always better to have us come in person, because that's how we can always get something as accurate as possible in the estimate. And we don't charge by the item. We don't charge by the stairs. We don't charge by the long carry. We charge by the time allotted that it should take us to get the entirety of the job done. So, for example, if I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment, I have off the top of my head, based on the furniture in that 1-bedroom apartment, because, hearsay, there is certain people's homes where someone may be a little bit overpacked with furniture and have a little bit more, maybe Chinaware or posters, or just a little bit more clustered in their home. Or there's someone that may have a very small, very simple apartment where it's just a couple pieces of furniture and, just their living quarters. And I would be able, just by walking through the home, be able to gauge how long it would take the company to load it up
Mm.
onto the truck, get to the next location, and then unload it onto the truck. And that's how we price it. It's by the hour. It's by the amount of men per hour. So, for example, with 2 men, you're at $125 an hour with us. And that's not per man. That's for the inclusion of the two. And then we price it such as that. So it'd be, for example, a quote could be 2 men, 1 truck, estimated for 4 hours plus travel and fuel. That's how we price everything. And included in our prices are a lot more than what most companies would include. We include all blankets, all tapes, all shrink wrap, I include all disassembly and reassembly. If your TV's
Oh,
on the
that's
wall,
great.
yeah, if your TV's on the wall, we'll include the dismount and remount of your TV. We
Wow.
also we also include a complimentary wardrobe service. So to help avoid that material cost at the end that maybe you just didn't acquire, you just didn't think about, we offer a complimentary wardrobe service. So for example, if you have a closet that you forgot to pack and there's a couple pieces of brooms and maybe some shoes or a couple pieces of clothing hung up, we have a couple wardrobes on the truck that the guys can pack up with a couple miscellaneous items or things that you forgot to pack lying around the home, and they'll unpack it at the opposite end. This way to help avoid material costs, rather than having to take a couple boxes off the truck, make the individual boxes, pack those stuff individually, and then bring it to the next home. They'll just pack it all into a giant wardrobe and unpack it and then take the wardrobe back. Now you have no material costs
That's
and we're
pretty
still
cool.
able to get that extra stuff around. So we try to work with people and make sure that everybody has a real good understanding where their price points are. And we always try to be as accurate as possible. Majority of the time, I would say maybe almost 78% of the time, we're either over an hour or under an hour on our quotes. So
Now, what happens if like you guys are coming into the house? Is it required to have insurance? Does my insurance have to cover you? How does that work?
we are a completely covered and insured company. Um, So when we're in residential homes, we are completely insured. All of our guys are completely taken care of. Obviously, if anything does get damaged, which typically it doesn't, but it is moving, stuff does happen. We take care of it completely. We don't leave it up to the customer. We don't believe in that. We believe in complete 100% customer satisfaction. That's why reviews are very, very high for us. We're, like I said, we're a small family-owned company. So for us, word of mouth is everything. Customer satisfaction is absolute must. So we always take care of everything, but we are insured. As far as going into buildings, we have all the certificates needed to present to any building based on any parameters that their insurance requirements may need. So yes, we are a completely insured company.
And so, who do you work well with?
Um, as far as like who do I have like a synergy with, like as far as business professions?
Yeah, exactly.
I do very well with realtors, leasing agents, some people in construction. I have a couple people that do construction that call me sometimes when they need something moved out of a house for a temporary period. We do well with some storage units. Some storage units reach out to us saying they have jobs. Um, we do very, very well with leasing agents for rental properties. And a new one for us and something that we've been pushing and really trying to break into as far as a field in the whole is senior downsizing and assisted living. We've been doing very
Okay.
well with that, and it's a field that we're getting into, and we're realizing is something that a lot of people need. Seniors especially, are people that it's a lot difficult to move, whether they have the people around to help them or being able to just do it themselves. So it's something that we can assist people on, and there is a consistent need for as far as movers. So it is something that we're getting into. So those are a couple of the fields that I really, really have a good niche and synergy with, that I kind of have a good business relationship.
What was like your craziest move that the person was so unorganized? Like how many trip? Is it more about trips or stacking it up like Tetris? What would you say is like one of your craziest moves?
Um, all right. The I was in California doing long distance. This was almost a $28,000 move. It took us two complete semi trucks, and on the day of move, it was 4.5 box trucks. Because in a local area, it's very hard to get the semis in, so we went with box trucks, and it wasn't not more so that the work was difficult. It was more so of the amount of stuff, the fragileness of the stuff. There was a lot of glassware in a lot of parts of the house. Obviously, it was a very high-end house. It was a very large property, and it was actually about like maybe 10 or 11 guys doing the move, which I've never had to do before. So
Mm.
working in the process, and it's like there's a crew for every part of the house, and it was very, very different for me. Something I've never really experienced, which I would love to experience again because I think it was super fun. But as far as difficulty, they had a lot of custom furniture, so taking it
Mhm.
apart is very tedious. Being able to memorize it, so we're taking pictures of each item we took apart, so we remembered exactly how it went back together because it was custom. So it's not something that you have sort of a, like, we're very good. Like, I go into a house, it's very simple for me to take apart a bed and put a bed back together. But now these custom beds are like, wow, I've never seen this before. How did they take this apart? Which way is the best way to take it apart to get it out of the bedroom? So we went through those type of situations with a lot of furniture in the house. So I think that was one of the most difficult things I've ever did. But it was very, nonetheless, it was fun. It was challenging, and we accomplished it. We made the move completely safe. We got them all the way to Boca Raton, Florida, from California, in 2 semi trucks, and it was phenomenal. But
With
job,
11
it was
guys.
tedious.
That sounds like a so. How many days deep? So you guys drove pretty much across the country.
Yep. Yes, sir. So I didn't myself because I don't have a CDL. I actually flew from California to Florida, and we had
Okay.
4 drivers take the 2 semis, and they drove. They did the
I'll
share
meet you
shift.
guys over there.
Yeah, just the guy, helping with the contract and doing all the disassembling and reassembling. At that point in time, I wasn't
Yeah,
driving
yeah.
the
You'll
semis.
be fresh to unload though, right?
Yeah, yes, I was there to work.
For those that are watching, if you're planning a move, I'm here with my buddy Devin Pinay from Amplified Moving. We're having a cool conversation on this Money Monday. We just shared a story going cross country, and wow, I really appreciate you sharing that story and jumping on with me today. What would you say is a call to action for those that are watching, whether they're planning a move, they want to get into the moving business, um, they're looking to call you for the next move? What would you say is their call to action?
I would definitely say have someone come to your home. It's always better to have the company in person, seeing exactly what they're working with. All sizes of furniture vary, so that is a big one. Purging, decluttering, making sure that what you're moving is exactly what you need. There's no point in paying extra for something you're not going to use. If it's garbage, you can buy it on the other end. If it's possible potential to break, you can always purchase it again. And 2 is always compare. Always compare. The lowest is not always the best. The highest doesn't always mean the greatest. Always make sure that what you're looking for is someone that's represented well, has a good established amount of reviews. You have great communication with them. They took the time to actually figure out exactly what you're moving. They asked the right detailed questions. These are all things that I think that most people should do when they're looking for a mover, which is all things that we can help you with at Amplify Moving.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And, always when we're having this conversation, there's always that one thing that just I forgot to say. So kind of here on the final thoughts segment, we're kind of rounding third base. So are there any final thoughts that you would say is like, what makes you guys, and you said it a ton, what makes you different from other movers, and just your mindset, even to how you charge, which I appreciate you being transparent with that. But do you have any final thoughts before we jump off?
Moving is completely stressful, and some people it is a nightmare. That's why we are not considered moving professionals. We consider ourselves moving superheroes. We're here to save the day for any person that may need it. So always just think of that. That's the difference between a real mover and a superhero.
I love that, And so you guys heard it here, folks. Thank you for watching. I always like to close the show with a quote, and this is by J.P. Morgan. The first step towards getting somewhere is deciding that you are not going to stay where you are. So I
I
hope
love
you
it.
enjoyed this lunch and learn. Go in grace, go in peace. Devin, hang out with me in the afterglow. Don't go anywhere. If you were watching on our live, hashtag live. If you were watching on our replay, hashtag replay. Tag a realtor, tag a loan officer, tag a friend. We'll see you guys on the other side. Peace out.